Hey, what's happening? This is your host Tinto, and before we get started on this week's episode, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody that got me coffees, starting with you, Tapiwa. Thank you for your generous contribution, and your comment there reads, "It's about time I return, Chegumi." Thank you. And then we got Sarah back again with 3 generous coffees, and your comment there reads, "Just tithing hangu. Muskana is grateful for the edutainment. Keep doing the mud things." You're welcome, Sarah. And then we got Tendai Jennifer. Oh, nice. 5 generous coffees. And your comment there reads, "It's been a while since I bought coffees. Keep up the good work." Thank you so much, Tendai. It really has been a minute. And then back again with Sarah, another 3 generous coffees. And your comment there reads, "This is for making my road trip a bliss. Ramba Uchigadziri Sanyikasha." Hey, we're trying to do our best. And then last but not least, we got Chishamiso. Got me generous coffee. Then your comment there reads, "I look forward to every new episode. Big up to you, Tinto. You're doing the Lord's work." Man, you guys have been incredible this year. I can't thank you enough for the support that you've given. And if you'd like to support the podcast in a similar way, please head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/feeling station and give as your spirit leads. Remember, there's nothing too small to support the podcast that you've grown to love. And with that out of the way, let's get straight into this week's episode. Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here on the Feeling Station. Yo, what's up?
How's it going?
Good. Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
For those listening to the podcast for the first time, it's a romantic, family, and friendship breakup podcast showcasing stories that people would like to talk about with a view to give lessons from their experiences. I hope you find today's story entertaining, but more importantly, meaningful. Now, the podcast is popular for 2 main reasons, as you know. First reason being I do my best to keep my guests anonymous, so I find a name. And it's always an African name. And the name I've picked out for you today is from Libya.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's actually, well, the origins are in Hebrew. And the male version of this name is Abel. And your name is Abella.
Abella.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me write that down.
Yeah,
What does that
Abella. So
mean?
ABELLA, Abella. Yeah, and
Hey.
the meaning is a bit funny.
What does it mean?
Breath.
That's it?
Yeah, just breath.
You know what? I do bring life to people. I've been told.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you know what I mean.
Hell, of course. Okay, okay. I get that.
That was smart.
Okay, now very, very well done, Abella. So normally when it's put in context, they say it's like sweet exhalation. So like
A breath of fresh air.
yeah, that can so within context it does make sense, but on its own, yeah. So
Okay.
Abella is your name, and what are you calling the person you're talking about today?
Okay, so the main person, I'm going to call him King.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there's a sub character.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call him Batu.
Batu.
You.
Okay. Now, why have you chosen those 2 names for both characters?
Okay, so for King, I think with all respect, he defines a king in his own nature. And I will explain that towards the end. I think it will kind of make sense.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then Batu is just a nickname I've always had for him with my friends.
Why?
And that again
okay.
will make sense.
Okay, cool. So this is a story about Abella, King, and Batu is a character to play in the story. And the second reason why people really like the podcast is their real life lessons that they walk away from every episode. So what would you like someone listening to your episode to walk away with?
Those are my lessons, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I've got a bunch over here. I think the first one will be: do not get into a long distance relationship if you don't have a guaranteed time for reunion.
Oh, nice. Makes sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Yeah. Like, I'm not against long distance relationships, but I feel like when we don't have like okay, so where are we going? Like, you don't know when you're going to meet. You don't know, like, I feel like that complicates a lot. So if you don't have that guaranteed time, don't do it.
I agree. Totally agree. Got a second one?
And then accept when it is time to let go.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people hang on too long just hoping that it's about to get better, but never really does it?
Yeah. And then the third one will be, just because you prayed for it doesn't mean it is yours forever.
Amen. Because sometimes God wants you to see what else is out there, right?
Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's more like he wants you to have a taste. And then when he's now trying to take it away, like when you tell a child, like, no, just have one piece of candy. Yes, there's a big bag of candy, but like you tell them, no, you're only limited to one. And then they keep on wanting more, but then your teeth are going to rot if you keep on giving them more.
Oh yeah.
Kind of, it's like God giving us candy, and then we just don't know when to stop.
Oh yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. That's a really good lesson. You got a fourth?
And then, yeah, I've got 5.
Okay, cool.
Okay, the fourth one will be, while healing does not mean forgetting, heal from your childhood traumas.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's if you know what they are.
Honestly, I feel like I never realized that I had trauma up until I moved to university. I think it's also with the timelines of when everything happened, where, I was dealing with it, and now I've only come to realize I'm like, I need to heal. There's a lot to heal from.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And then the last one will be, the standard of morals and values will always be different for everyone. But if there's no middle ground, agree to disagree and walk away.
I really like that. So I'll just play those back. Number 1, do not get into long distance relationship if you don't have a guaranteed time for reunion. Number 2, accept when it's time to let go. Number 3, just because you prayed for it doesn't mean it's yours forever. Number 4, while healing doesn't mean forgetting, heal from your childhood traumas. And then the last one, the standard of morals and values will always be different for everyone. But if there's no middle ground, agree to disagree and walk away. Ooh, those are powerful. Right.
Well thought out.
Yeah, no, you can really tell there's effort that went into this, and thank you for that. So let's get straight into it then. Abella, where did you meet King and why did you decide, okay, let me give this guy a chance?
Okay, so before meeting King, I will just give a backstory to where I was coming from and what led to me like meeting him at that point in time. Okay, so you know what? Before that, I had terrible experiences with love, Like, I had my first heartbreak. It literally put me in the shambles, literally. I was dragged, from like a guy that cheated on me, lots of like betrayal from friends, and one guy, imagine I took care of somebody, and in the following moment, from the moment I left, they're like, "Oh, thank you so much." They had COVID. I risked my life.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
To go take care of this mandem.
Yeah.
And then the moment I get home, he's like, "Yeah, thanks for being there, whatever. He posted his hand, bruh, on Instagram.
What?
That collaboration post. Can you imagine?
What?
And the hand was known, so it was all over media. It was on Zim Celebs even. It was so embarrassing.
What?
But then thank God nobody knew about like whatever, because the hand is discreet. I'm out there, I'm not dishing my business to people, so nobody really knew. But it was really like, oh my gosh, constant betrayal from every single person.
Yeah.
And that's where like what lesson is it? My third lesson comes in, where like I prayed. I was talking to my mom and I was like, I prayed to God. I'm like, the next man that I'm going to be with, that relationship is going to be my end game,
Yeah.
that is going to be a healthy relationship with someone that respects me, someone that prioritizes me, someone that sees me, someone that wants no one else but me. And that was my prayer every single day. So flash forward now to me meeting King. So yeah, I was out. It was actually like a week after my birthday. I had a terrible birthday, like every birthday has always not been the best, but then this one was like a milestone birthday. When you're reaching a milestone, you're like expecting everyone to go all out for your milestone, and then nothing happens. So like, because my family didn't do anything and all of that. And the following week, I was like, you know what? Since nobody is going to celebrate me, let me go celebrate myself. So I went out. Met with my cousin and his friends. We were at a popular, local pub in Zim. Zim for Zimbabwe. So like, I saw him. One of like my acquaintances came to our table with him.
Yeah.
And we got introduced. So it was just normal hi, But like the rest of that night, it was one of those, like, I was hinting, I was giving him the eye, like I made it known, like, hey, I see you. Do you see me? So the night kind of...
So you were hinting with your eyes, yeah?
Yeah. Because I remained on my table, but like he was kind of like walking around back and forth to the bar because their table was right next to us.
Right.
Yeah. So it's one of those, like, he was kind of like back and forth, like, oh, we need a refill, go to the bar, go get a refill and things like that. So like then I'd kind of like look at him and then I'd just like look away. I didn't make it too obvious. But like, here's the thing. He actually never noticed. It was one of his friends that noticed and then had to tell him, like, dude, I think this hand is looking at you.
Yeah, you see, that's why I'm chuckling. Because men, we have a way of not seeing things,
Yeah, he was pretty oblivious to the entire thing. And the friend is like, I think this hand's checking you out. Right? So I kind of gave up and I was like, you know what, whatever. It's time for me to go home. My dad was unwell, so my mom had called me saying like, yeah, you should come home because we had lots of like relatives at home. Like, it wouldn't be a good look if you came at like the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, sharp, it's okay. So on my way out, I bump into him. Lo and behold, he's like, hey. I'm like, why, hello there, right? He's like, can I grab your number? It was very quick. It happened so quickly. Like, I gave him my number. I'm like, oh, I was actually heading out. He's like, oh, okay, can I walk you out there? And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. He walks me out. I get into my car and I go home. And that was kind of it. Right? I didn't hear from him for like about a week or two. But like, he requested me on my Instagram and I thought that was weird. I'm like, why are you requesting me on the gram and you haven't even sent me a message? Right? I'm like, whatever. Anyway, so he eventually hits me up. We talk for about a week or two. We go on our first date. This was the first date I'd ever been on.
In your whole life at that point. Okay.
I've literally been, I don't know why I was dating useless people in the past, because why have I never been on a date? But anyway, yeah, we go on our first date. It was perfect. We were there for hours, literally. And the day ended and it was a really great date. And from then onwards, like, I think about a week or two later, it was like New Year's. Spent New Year's with him, and then he asked me out. And that's kind of how like our story started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing you said yes.
Well, of course I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think in the first month we dated, I expressed about my desires of wanting to study abroad, right? And he was well aware of all of that. Like I was pretty like, I don't have anything solid going on yet, but like I am applying and that's kind of like what I want to do. I don't want to stay around here, you know? So he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's fine because actually," so I told him about the country I wanted to go to. He's like, "Oh, actually, before COVID had happened, that's where I wanted to go, right? To finish his studies, right? Because like he's currently working. He was currently working, and while also like studying like online, but like it was very like slow paced and everything like that. So I was like, oh, okay. So after he asked me out, he brought it up. He's like, if you end up going to school, we're going to have to be long distance, can you handle that? He was asking me if I could handle it.
Yeah.
And because he was like, oh, I've got experience with long distance. I've been in one before. So I'm not really worried about it, but I'd be mostly worried about you. Like if it's not what you want, let's end it here.
Yeah.
Right. But I was like, I'm pretty sure I can handle it. Like, I'm like, we still have some time to get to know each other. We still had like another like 6 months to be together and like get to know each other. So I really did not have a problem. I wasn't against the idea of like a long distance, right? Yeah. So everything was going pretty well. Our relationship was progressing really well. I thought everything was great. Like our relationship was great. And then I ended up leaving, I think 8 months later. And first year of our long distance was actually not bad. We were actually
So,
fine.
out of curiosity, what made your relationship great?
We communicated. There was communication a lot, and not just communication. It was one of those like we kept each other in the loop, right? And I would say like this is like the first relationship where like if you would be like, oh, I'm going out with my friends, right? I'm not stressed. I'm not like trembling. I'm not having a sleepless night, like in the past. I'm not too worried because there was that level of trust that we had between each other. Yeah. So like the communication and like the consistent communication, because this is long distance, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, it was going really well because we talked about things. We talked about everything.
Okay.
We had completely different personalities, but like it worked for the time, for like the first year and even the second year, you know, like it was going pretty good. Right. So first year, second year going well. I did go home between that 2 years. I did go home once and everything was fine. We were perfect. So after that, after like the 2 years of us being together, getting into the third year now, I think because like I I'm still pretty young and he was fairly older than I am. We had like a 9 year difference between us. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't have an issue with that personally. I've I don't know, because like dating guys my age has been a struggle personally for me in my experience. Like every time I try to talk to somebody who's more my age and all of that, like their priorities are not my priorities, so there's always been like that clash. And like I don't want to say lack of maturity. I just feel like we just weren't on the same level with most of the guys I've tried to date that were ranging around my age range. Yeah. So yeah. I started asking the questions because this is now 2 years in. I'm starting to ask the questions where I'm like, okay, where are we going with this? Right? Like, where are we going with this? Right? So I will explain my questions and then what then started occurring with my family.
Yeah.
Around the same time, like to link with like the traumas that I started experiencing. Right. So I started asking the questions because I have a passion, right, which he knows has been dear to my heart. Right. I think I shared my passion with you all in our last conversation. And I had not like, really, explored it ever since I came here. And I was talking about how he's very traditional and very conserved, right? And I was like, hey, if I want to get back into this, how are you going to take it? Because I don't think we've ever fully like, I felt like you still don't know the real me, because like this is a big part of me that I haven't like fully embraced with you. Because firstly, like he stereotypes that type of creativity. It felt like he did, at least. Maybe he didn't, but like it felt like he did. And I was always just scared, you know? And, he expresses like, I don't know if I would be comfortable with that. And I don't know if I would be comfortable with the mother of my kids being in like that creative industry, surrounded by those kinds of people. Like it just felt very stereotypical of what the industry brings.
Right.
Which is not wrong, right? Which is not wrong for somebody who's my partner to be afraid or scared of. But I'm like, but then I'm doing this solely for me, right? So this is where we started clashing now, about my passion and him, and me feeling like he fully did not understand, where I was coming from when it came to my creative side. Like I want to fully embrace you. If you are my partner, you're going to have to understand. He's like, I don't know if I would be comfortable with you being around those type of men, those type of environments. If you're to go on a tour, I don't know if I can fully trust that you're safe and things like that, which are valid reasons for somebody to be worried about. But like, still, I did not feel the support, because he would say like, no, I'm still supporting you. I'll still support you, but it'll be difficult for me. When someone's like, I'm giving you a permission, but I don't want you to do it.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like a lot of the times, where I'm like, still, I don't feel like I can ever fully embrace that side of you, because if I ever brought it up, he would either go quiet and no comment, or have so little to say about it, And like, that was a major struggle for me. And then if I went out, right, sometimes because I'm young, sometimes I would go out. It's like, you're so different when you are with your friends. Like, you're getting drunk. Like, I went for a trip and a video of me dancing was taken.
Right.
I don't think it was anything inappropriate, because this is a video I even showed to my mom. Right? And I thought it was just vibes, like no big deal. He's like, I don't know. Then he's like, I'm questioning your morals because you're dancing in front of other
Wow.
men.
Questioning your morals,
That triggered me. That triggered me a lot. Like, I'm just trying to live. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't think, I'm like, especially, I'm like, for me, I think it was more like, throughout that entire trip, I tried to reassure this man. I reassured him, and he was reassured. He even acknowledged it, right? And then, like, when I was now posting the content after the trip, and in that one video, like, he was literally not happy,
Yeah.
And I was just like, damn, okay, right? So around the same time, my parents also separated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
My parents separated. And what then happened was that I felt like my parents kept a facade for such a long time, for 20 years. You know, when you thought you came from the perfect family with no drama?
Mm-hmm.
God, was I wrong?
Really?
It was so bad for me, right? Because I think things started going down just before I left the country, before I came here, right? And like, I will admit, like, there were things that happened before that I saw. Like, my father was pretty abusive. He was verbally abusive. I love him, but like, I do not like the human being he is.
Right.
There's a certain rationale he has that has just made me question. I'm like, that is not an example of the man I would ever wanna be with in my future. Right? He was physically abusive. And one time in particular, when I was 9, my mom was pregnant. No, I was 8. My mom was pregnant with my little brother. And she was just asking, like, how come you don't spend time with your kids? Like, we haven't done a family trip or anything like that. He went bogus and he smashed a broken a glass against the table, and he aimed it towards my pregnant mom. You know, he aimed it towards my pregnant mom, and I was standing right next to her, so he aimed it to both of us. And that's how violent he would become. You know,
Right, that's messed up, man.
Yeah, and remember that there's a podcast of that lady that shared about how her father used to be so rich, but like he lost everything, and nobody ever understood where the money went.
Yeah.
You know, like my father, at some point, I went to any country that I asked to go for like my tours. Like, you know, I went to Brazil, I went to Argentina. My father would pay.
Wow.
He would pay. Right? And like at that point in time, it was one of those like things started falling apart, but I never noticed because my mom kept up his appearance so well for years, to a point where she wasn't able to keep it up anymore. And when we started seeing him for who he is, it just like broke me.
Yeah.
You know, it broke me. And this is now me in my 20s. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and come to find out, all these years when I'd be thinking, oh, it's my dad that's providing when I needed something or whatever, it would come across as my dad did it, but it was actually my mom.
Your mom.
It was actually my mom. I don't think we give mothers enough respect for the things that they cover up for their husbands for the sake of the children. I just hate that while in her covering up and all of that, I feel like it has damaged us more because we are trying to accept this new reality and who this man actually is. You know, so that really broke me. You know, so like the physical abuse, the last fight, you know, my mom had financed something and she's like, I want to be there to make sure that the money I have invested is coming back. He threw a fit. He tried to strangle her, but then this is in front of the kids, me and my siblings. He tried to strangle her, and oh, I forgot something. He suffered a stroke. And he's currently paralyzed. He has nothing to his name anymore.
Right now?
And right now, yeah. He has nothing to his name. He suffered a stroke, and his relatives were blaming him. Were blaming my mom because at some point when they had that big fight, and the fights were always about money, you know, those fights would always come up because of money. Right. And like he would become extremely violent and it would be in front of the kids. You know, people threatening, like, I'm calling the police, you know, weapons, you know, he's kind of armed sometimes. I'm like, why are you holding that broken glass? Like, why are you punching? Like, sometimes, you know, my mom saying, oh, last night he punched me, you know, because my mom and I started like, I think I've gotten to know my mom in the past 2 years so well. I didn't know her. I thought I knew my mom. I didn't know her because she started opening up and she left no stone unturned.
Wow.
She left no stone unturned, right? And then I think what further broke me was like now finding out he has other kids. You know, I'm seeing like my little brother had his phone. My sister's the one that found out. He's like, oh yeah, remember that lady from the salon? Oh yeah, daddy cheated with him, with her. Imagine this is coming from your younger sibling who's giving you. I'm like, why are kids being exposed? It was super heartbreaking.
How did he find that out though?
How did he? He's always known. Do you remember that fight? Because the timelines. Because these kids are, when you calculate it, these kids are more or less the same age as my younger brother. So remember that fight of my mom saying, you're not spending time with me. You're not spending time with your kids. The timelines. And she was pregnant with my younger brother. That means mans are sleeping around.
That's crazy.
I know. That means mans are sleeping around, you know? So like finding out about other kids, finding out about the people he's kind of like hurt in the process and why he doesn't get along with so many people because of money, because of debt, because of baby mamas. And I feel like the reason to his demise is the betrayal he has done to people, like trying to kind of like the hurt he's done to people, you know. And I feel so sadly, he's still my dad at the end of the day. I still love him. And I am finding it in myself in trying to forgive him.
Yeah.
Right. So now me finding all of this out and me always finding something new out, like this. Honestly, I don't think there can ever be a man that can hurt me to the point of my dad.
Wow.
You know? It started to affect my relationship with my boyfriend. Right? And there's something that I didn't like because like my mom completely switched off. Right? She completely switched off and she was like, you know what, Abela, my priority is myself now, and my priority is my kids. Right? And that's exactly what she's doing. She's living her life. And sometimes she does post things. She even changed her Facebook name, you know, to her maiden name and all of that. And like, you know, when you're telling your boyfriend, you're thinking you're confiding in some. Well, he was there for me. Like, let me not make it seem like he wasn't, but he was there for me. But there's a point in time where, you know, I think my mom had posted a funny meme about her like being single or something like that. I forgot what it was. And he just was not happy, didn't seem amused by it. I thought it was funny because honestly, in certain situations, it's either you laugh or cry. And I think mom is just choosing to just find amusement out of the situation after somebody who's been stuck in that relationship for 20 years. I think she's doing well for herself and putting herself first. And I literally stand by that, you know? So, but then for him, like, this amount of dysfunction in your family, like, how do you think that's going to affect you in your future in this relationship when we're married? You know, he was now like kind of questioning, because I'm like, I think he felt like because I'm condoning my mom's behavior, you know, like, I don't know what it was though. I can't tell you. I cannot comprehend what he meant, but sometimes it would come across to me. That's how I would take it, you know, because a lot of the times I felt like when he would explain why he thinks a certain way, it sounded completely okay and like he's right. I would understand why he's coming from, where he's coming from, you know, and that's kind of like where like the standard of morals and values being different, you know, where I'm like, the way he thinks is not that terrible. At the same time, I just cannot agree with that lifestyle, you know, same as mine, where I'm like, because I'm coming from that amount of dysfunction and all of that, I tend to not overthink certain things. And he like thinks the most simplest of things, you know, where he's like, it's a big deal to him, you know? Yeah. So me dealing with all of that family drama of my parents and relatives literally just speaking terribly about my mom, you know, I've had to cut off a lot of people, or rather distance myself away from a lot of relatives, because you cannot be nice to me and be mean to the person that birthed me. That's just my thing. You know, you can't disrespect my mom and then act like you like me. You don't like me if you don't like my mom. That's just like my thing. So in that very same time, my boyfriend and I were struggling at this point in time, where I'm asking the questions. I'm like, okay, so what's the deal? When do you think because he wanted to finish his studies in Zim now before he comes over to where I am, you know? I'm like, so what's the deal? What's the plan, you know? And we never really had like a solid plan as to when he'll be done and when he will be done, because things have been changing here. Immigration laws change all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
You know, how it was when I came and how it is now is completely different. It's more restrictive. It's more everything. And, you know, I was becoming afraid, you know, and also because like I really did not have like a solid, like a guarantee of like, okay, he's coming in a year and we'll start the visa process in June or something. I did not have that, you know. So that exacerbated it. Where like I'm trying to express myself, you know. I was even afraid of like, you know, being myself. I felt like I could not be myself anymore. Because like if I went out, you know, ndaitsangirwa, and like he'll, you know, not like like sometimes there'll just be like that tension, or he's just extremely distant, or sometimes we wouldn't even talk. Like this time we didn't talk for a week because I came home kind of tipsy and like knocked out. I innocently knocked out. You know, that wild night where like it's not even wild. It's just you having fun with your friends. You come back home, you knock out, and then you kind of forget, you know, and then in the morning, you're being berated for that. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, but I didn't cheat. It's like, I know you didn't cheat, but then you didn't communicate. I'm like, like, that happened a lot every single time I went out or went on a trip, you know? So I would always have so much anxiety, you know, with just wanting to live life. And he's so far away and it made me so lonely.
Yeah. You know, it's isn't it amazing how somebody can be so far but have so much control?
Exactly. You know, because I've never known to be with anybody but him for a while now, you know, and I'm trying my best to be respectful, to be a loyal, understanding girlfriend. But again, I feel like we were just not aligning somewhere. Like I could see it, but it took me a while to get to that point where I'm like, yeah, no, you know? So I, so in the midst of all of this is all happening in 1 year in the same, yeah, this is like our third year now. And I meet Batu, right? Oh my God. Batu comes in with them. Like, I could be myself, you know? We have the same banter. I met him at a workout class, and immediately we kind of just hit it off, right? And he compliments me literally, like the most minor details which you would never think like anybody would notice, he would notice, right? He's complimenting me. He's making me feel good. He's making me feel proud to be me. I could even like my creative side. I show him. He's super excited about seeing that side of me. It's one of those like, oh my God. And then like I would talk to my boyfriend. I'm like, hey, did you notice that my skin has cleared?
You're like what?
Because like Batu told me, he goes, oh my gosh, your skin looks fine, girl, I'm like, hey, did you notice that my skin has cleared? Like, do you see how glowing I am? You'd be like, yeah, I do. I'm like, how come you didn't say anything? And I did express at that point in time, I'm like, I can't have other men complimenting me.
Ooh.
And my own, I don't care about if the entire world could compliment me and call me beautiful. But if the one person I need to hear it from is not saying it, it just makes me not feel good.
Yeah.
Right? So my conversations with Batu went pretty well, right? Until it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand. And I tell him, I'm like, hey, I'm actually in a relationship. I don't want to drag you along and lead you on,
When you say things were getting out of hand, what was getting out of hand?
We were like flirting high key. Like like when he would come with the compliments, like he would come in strong,
Okay. I'm playing devil's advocate here and saying, "Oh, Abella, your skin is looking amazing." I'm trying to see how that would be elevated, because you've just said that, you're kind of taking it too far, but it sounds like just compliments for now.
Yeah, well, it was compliments, right? But like even just conversation flowing, like just him understanding my banter, like because I speak in like accents, like there's a certain type of lingo. I'm that person who just makes, I don't know, I just come up with things and then someone to instantly get it. I'm like, wait a minute,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So like just having that banter between us, I was like, I expressed to him like, this is getting to a level where I feel like it could potentially lead me to something I don't want to get into.
Okay.
So yeah. He's like, oh, thanks for letting me know. I understand. Yada yada yada. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I'm like, oh, we could hang out if like you're cool with that. I'm open to that. But I was just like, but then he was just like, I don't know, I've been in the past, I've had complications with people who have boyfriends, whatever. So he kind of just like stopped talking to me after I told him that.
Oh, okay. So he hadn't clocked that you have a boyfriend yet at this point?
He hadn't. I had to tell him.
Okay.
He hadn't. Because my boyfriend is long distance, so not, and this is a small town. It's so easy for you to find out if anyone's dating anybody. So he had never seen me around, and he really wanted to get to know me. He seemed pretty great at that point in time, so I kind of like had to shut it off. I'm like, yeah, and then we stopped talking for like about a month, and then he reached out again, right? And I was so happy to hear from him because now my relationship was struggling. And I don't know why. I don't know why I was super receptive of him, you know?
You just said your relationship was struggling. That's it. I think.
Yeah, well, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm dealing with a lot. And then I get injured, and my boyfriend does not seem like it was a major injury because I couldn't walk. Right. I was bedridden. I couldn't even make a bowl of cereal,
Oof.
you know. And Batu was there. He was helping me out with my injury and all of that. And I feel like that made us get closer, and I started to like him. Right. I actually started to like him. But like I didn't know anything about him or much about him. He's a very mysterious person, you know, but at the same time I liked the mystery because I'm like, what's the deal? Right. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, why did you come back? Because the last time you said that it was a major deal breaker for you to like talk to somebody who's taken or something like that. He's like, well, I thought about it and I just said, fuck it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm like, okay, cool, right? So like for a month, we're actually getting close. We go out one time, and like we have a very great bond, a very great friendship. You know, like I really enjoyed having his company. Or like when he would call, I'd be happy to talk to him. Like it would go on for hours, and I'd be like pretty happy. But like in my own relationship, I'm like, do you know that I can walk now? You know, like there wasn't enough checking in. I wasn't getting attention, you know, and because like he was angry with me for, I can't remember what had happened then. I think that's when I'd been asking about like, you know, pursuing my creative side, and, you know, I expressed to him how I felt trapped, you know, because I just feel like I cannot really express myself. And I feel like he held that against me for like about a month. That was the same month I was injured and needing him the most. And he still could not be present for me. And I'm getting attention from another person, you know? So now I actually start getting consumed in what Batu is about, you know? Then I find out he's got 2 kids. Right? Like, but like he's never told me any of that. Right? And that was very disheartening. I'm like, we've been talking for so long, you can't even, why do I have to find out from everybody else that you actually have a kid, you know, and your baby mama is right here in this town, you know? And now I started learning about him. Like I hear like his baby mama is here. His ex had to go in for therapy. I don't know what he did. I'm like, what did this man then do? You know, so it's kind of like I had to play FBI to find out about this man, you know, but I never confronted him. I never confronted him, you know, because I was like, it's not my place. He's not my boyfriend. You know, I need to, like when they say like, don't, what's that? The grass is not always greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. So I was like, I have to work on my relationship. Me entertaining this is not even necessary. But I was still very curious because I think some feelings had developed there, right? For Batu. But like, and then I started noticing more and more and more. And, you know, I find out about his ex. I find out about his kid. It actually, because people had said that he had two kids, he actually had one. So when people said that he had two kids, right, my friends and I started calling him Batu. That's how Batu came about.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay. That makes sense now. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if I would talk about him, I'll be like, Batu is coming, or Batu is here, or guys, Batu, there's Batu. If I would be talking about him, I'll just be like, Batu. But then he actually has one kid. And I never confronted him, you know. But I would find out everything from other people. It's pretty easy to find out things here, honestly. Like I didn't have to do much, right? But again, while I was trying to work on my relationship, it was still falling apart. I felt like I was still struggling, you know. We tried, and like even when I would go out, I would just feel a bit of like some tension, you know, of him being distant and all of that, you know, up until a time I went to the fair with my friends and like, those temporary tattoos. Yeah. So I got one for fun as a joke.
Yeah.
Right. Because it fades in 5 days. So I didn't think much of it. Right. So I kind of got like a tramp stamp. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get home, I'm going to show it to my boyfriend, and it's going to be so funny. And it wasn't. He was not happy. He's like, why would you do that? I'm like, it's no big deal. It fades off in 5 days. Like, why are you pressed? Right? He's like, you know how I feel about tattoos. Again, remember when I said like it's kind of traditional, it's kind of on the more conservative side. I'm like, I didn't think it was a big deal. It's a temporary tattoo. It fades off in 5 days. It's like, but then what are people that are seeing you with that going to think?
Right.
I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like, who cares what people are going to think? You know? And then he's like, to everyone that sees that on you, you're basically trying to tell everyone that you're accessible.
Yeah,
Right?
okay. Right.
And then again, the statement of questioning my morals comes back. Like, it's just making me question your morals again. I'm like, excuse me. At this point in time, I just feel like we've been dragging this along for the past, 6 months? You know? That's when I was just like, you know what? I just feel like there's a standard of a woman that you expect out of me that I cannot give to you right now.
Right.
You know? And also like with the amount of dysfunction in my family, I feel like again you sort of like don't get, and I feel like you're worried about how my family issues may be affecting me. Because he had expressed about me being switched off for the past 2 months and all of that. I think I'd just switched off out of everything, my friendships and my relationships. And that's where I kind of clocked that I need to heal.
Okay, yeah, because right.
I need to heal. I've dealt with a lot. My parents, every time when they call me, they are shouting about each other. There's nothing going right now. Like my dad will call saying, "Oh, how can your mom be angry for 2 years?" He calls, he's like, "Oh, I've moved out. He's not giving me money and all of that. Like, I'm sick. I need, so imagine I'm being called all the way here. I can't control anything. My siblings call me crying, wondering what's going on with mom and dad. So all of that is like playing around in my head, and obviously it's hurting me. Right. And then I have a relationship where I feel like I have to prove myself constantly. I can't feel guilty about going out, about, I'm thinking, oh, I had so much fun today. I can't wait to tell my boyfriend. And he just seems really off. He's not paying attention, or rather, he's rather distant. He would always become distant when he was not happy with me. He was never somebody who would like outright, like, um, shout at me or anything like that. His way of dealing was being distant. And that it really used to affect me a lot because I'm like, dang, what did I do?
The distance and the silent treatment.
Yeah, the silent treatment.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it wouldn't even be like silent treatment. Sometimes it would be like you would call him and he would still answer, but just know you're talking to yourself for the next hour or the next duration of that call. To a point where sometimes I would like, hey, I'm going to hang up because when you're ready to talk to me, talk to me. I was just tired of feeling guilty for just being me sometimes.
Yeah.
And I hated that even when he justified himself, he would still be, he sounded right. But then again, I'd also be like so confused and caught in between where I'm like, is what I'm doing really that bad? Because am I rebelling? I'm like, I'm sure I'm not acting out of character,
Yeah.
And I was like emotionally cheating on him again. So that's why I stayed for such a long time.
Right.
Saying like, I know things may be falling apart because I am entertaining someone else. But I feel like a lot had to do with it, and just like the abuse I experienced over the years, like the verbal abuse from my dad and the physical abuse that was done to my mom right in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
That always it still comes back to me and it still traumatizes me when I think about it all the time. Where I'm like, dang, did he really do that? Like, I think of all the fights, always physical, always uncomfortable, always dramatic. Like, watching your mom get strangled in front of you is not something you get over easily. And what I hate is that when I try to express to my mom or my family that this still hurts me, this still affects me, it's just one of those like, no, don't overthink it, don't do that, don't know, you don't have no, you can't be depressed about that, focus on your life. I'm like, but guys, this is still affecting me. Like, I just hate that my family have not had a support system to really like support me in how these things are affecting me, because they're now affecting my relationships with people. I've become such a nonchalant, switched off human being, and I don't like that about myself right now, and I'm trying to work on it. So I ended my relationship after that tattoo incident. I'm like, you and I do not align, and go find the woman that fits your morals and your values,
Wow. Okay.
because that's not who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm just tired of feeling like I'm rebelling. And like, I feel like we'll always fight about this because I can't count the amount of fights we've had about me going out and it being a problem. I could never fully enjoy myself, even on just like a day trip. It would still be an issue. I didn't even go out a lot with my friends because I'll just be like, if I go out, when I come back, I don't want to deal with somebody.
Exactly, with what comes with it. With somebody's going to be asking me questions about stuff that didn't even happen.
Like, because he would be like, when I'm out, I communicate with you. I make sure I answer you, like, and I'm like, yeah, and I appreciate that. But I feel like I'm trying and I still don't feel acknowledged for trying. No, it's still not enough. I'm like, I feel like we're always going to fight about this. I came to you thinking, oh, this tattoo is funny. It's temporary. It washes off in days. But to you, it's like it's a whole. And some people may support his opinion, and I'll absolutely respect it. But like for me, if it's not a big deal, I don't know. I feel like it's more of like a let's agree to disagree situation here. You're not always going to agree. Like some people, like how like in a lot of Africans, our parents, if you get a nose ring, they're like absolutely not.
Oh yeah.
But then like to other people, it's one of those like a nose ring is like no big deal.
Mm.
So it's kind of like that. So that's what it felt like. So yeah, I ended that relationship, and then with Batu now.
Interesting how your name Abella means breathe, because that was one hell of a huge breathing you just did. What's the deal with Batu?
I'm still like really lost. Other days I'm like, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to let you go. And then he just finds his way back in. But like for the past couple of weeks now, I'm like, I need to let you go. And I'm trying to pray about it, but it doesn't help. It's one of those, like every single time I'm like, what do you want from this? I try to ask him the questions of like, what do you want from this? What do you expect? Like, this has been going on for months. And now that I'm like single, why aren't you trying to pursue me? Why aren't you trying to, you're still like in my life. When I'm about to leave, the following week, he treats me with like a massage. He books me a massage or something like that.
But what are you
It's
guys in the first place? You're still just flirting about, playing?
It's become more than that.
How and when?
Over the past couple months, where we do spend a lot of time with each other. And like, I tell him I want something, he makes a plan. I told him there's a concert I wanted to go to, which my ex-boyfriend was not happy about me going there. And he literally, like, no questions asked, got me a ticket, So, like, I'm glad he listens. At the same time, I feel like he's breadcrumbing me.
So when did you break up with King?
About a couple months ago.
And this concert is when?
In a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we found out about this concert. This concert was announced like early this year, like in February or March or something like that.
So when you say that you and Batu are a bit more, I still don't know what you are.
You know what? That's a question to the entire crowd. Like, I also don't know what we are. Like, that's what I was saying. Like, he's breadcrumbing me and trying to walk out of that situation. I feel like every single time I'm about to walk away, he tries to do something to like keep me around.
Are you guys having sex?
Yeah.
So you're having sex with someone who you don't know if he's your boyfriend or is your friend?
Yeah. And it's like you express to him, and that's like, it was only last week when I told him, I'm like, I know about your daughter, and I know about your ex, because the ex, she didn't know that I'm talking to him, but like we met at an event and she spoke about a guy that ruined her life, and it was him that she spoke about. Apparently, she's had to go to therapy because of this guy, right? She hadn't mentioned his name, right? She's like, I've had to go to therapy. He's the reason to my eating disorder and eating disorder because he gave me body dysmorphia. All of these things that she tells me that he did, and I don't know. Someone was talking about abusive men during a general conversation, and she's like, oh, I've only dated one man that's beat me up, and it was Batu. And I'm like, okay. And then I bring up, I go to him And she spoke about his daughter and spoke about how, he didn't tell her up until like a year into their relationship, you know. And I go to him, I'm like, listen, I know about your daughter, I know about your ex. I need to hear your side of the story, you know. And he explains his side of the story as like, Kanzi, I only found out about my daughter 2 years ago, which is he explained how, saying like it happened back when I was like when we were like 16. The hand didn't know who the father was because he wasn't the only one she had slept with. So that part was not his fault. And then like when he came here, she also happens to be in the same town. She's the one that actually helped him to come here. But they both did not know that he was the father of her child. Her mom was the one to be like, hey, I feel like this could be your child. Do you want to try get a DNA test? And he got the DNA test and it came out to be his daughter. This is like, what, about 13, 15 years later?
Okay, so now we know that King is out of the picture, right? He's gone.
He's gone.
And I can get the lessons where they come in to say, do not get into a long distance relationship if you don't have a guaranteed time for reunion. Yes, it was shaky and it was going to remain shaky. Kudos to that. I'm actually glad that got shut down. Number 2, except when it's time to let go. I'm going to come back to that one. Number 3, just because you prayed for it doesn't mean it is yours forever. And I remember you spoke to your mom about something that you wanted, and this felt like this was it.
Yeah.
Right, but it wasn't. And then while healing doesn't mean forgetting, heal from your childhood traumas. I think there's a lot there to explore and unravel, because you spend quite a bit of time speaking about that component of this breakup. And I think that, if you can, needs, urgent attention, in quotes, whatever that means, or focus rather, to help you deal with that, because it's a lot, especially when parents go their separate ways and you found out what you found out and you experienced what you experienced. Number 5, the standard of morals and values will always be different for everyone, but if there's no middle ground, agree to disagree and walk away. Cool. That, again, because he constantly said to you, what will people think? So you weren't aligned. But what I want to come back to is number 1, except when it's time to let go.
Yeah.
You have a guy you're sleeping with who hasn't made it clear whether he wants you to be his girlfriend or not.
Yeah.
At what point are you going to accept that it's time for you to let go? Because he's enjoying boyfriend benefits without being the boyfriend.
Yeah. And I've clocked that. And you know what? There's also certain characteristics of him that really, I'm trying to run away from the whole like women tend to resonate or lean towards guys that are like their fathers. I think part 2 has a lot to do with my trauma. It's like a trauma bond.
So do you want to let him go or not?
I feel like I need to process, like the same way I processed my breakup for a while. Yes, it took me time, but when my breakup happened, I was ready. Because I'd been fighting with myself for 6 months on whether I should end the relationship or not. Up until a time it got to a point where I was like, no, Lot, it's time to let go. And we actually ended our relationship on good terms. We don't hate each other. We even spoke about it a week later, post breakup, where I was like, do you feel like we made the right decision? And he said, yeah, it was the right decision, because I feel like there's a lot you need to heal from. That's what he said to me. There's a lot you need to get to know about yourself. I don't want to limit you. There's a lot you need to experience because you're still young.
Right.
Yeah. It was an amicable split. No drama, but like what led to it was just like, I think I was just exhausted, and we both knew it was done, as for Batu, it's also like, I feel like the hold he has on me is more of a trauma bond than it is like, I don't think I'm down bad per se, but I'm just wondering why I keep holding on. And it's a major struggle for me. And I know it's a struggle. I know I have to leave. But like, I don't know. It's just like a struggle for me. And I feel like it happens with a lot of women where like we hold on to something we know we should let go of. I don't know. Something has to happen for us to like be like, okay, we're done. Or he has to do something major to break the camel's back to be like, okay, we're outie. But yeah. So I don't know. I think to myself all the time, and like, Abela, you need to leave.
I'm going to change lesson number 2, just as I wrap this up. It was originally accepted when it's time to go. I'm just going to add something before that and say process your situation, and when you're ready, accept that it's time to let go.
Yeah, I think.
Because it's very real for you even now.
Yeah. I think I need to process it because I feel like if I am to just like end it now, I will still go back.
Yeah.
If I'm being very honest and real with you, you know, I would rather allow myself to get him out of my system. I've had the conversation with him, expressing to him where I stood and how I felt. So it's not like he doesn't know. He knows exactly what it is I want. I feel like I would like to bring it up again and just, I don't know, Tinto. It's like, I'd like to bring it up again and really be like, dude, I don't know. It just sounds desperate though. I don't want to do that.
I'm trying to help you here. So step number 1 is tell him what you want. Step number 2, repeat what you just said. And then number 3,
walk away. I don't know. I feel like, well, what my plan was like, I'm going to try bring it up again, and I'm just really going to grit on my teeth and just end it, force the end to it, because I can't keep going on like this. It's not healthy for me. It's not healthy for me. Like I want to be treated because I have had a taste of a healthy relationship. My relationship with King was pretty healthy. The only side, because I feel like the issues we had, we would not have had if we were in the same place. I feel like we had them because of the distance. I feel like those insecurities he had or those triggers he had were because of the distance. They were not because we were struggling with anything. If we had been together, I feel like we'd still be together if we were in the same place. Because like even like the tattoo stuff, I even told him, I'm like, if we were walking together at the fair and I see that, that tattoo spot, I'll still want to do it. But you'd probably be the one to stop me. And then I would be like, okay. And then this would never been a fight.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what it is. And now with Batu, it's also like, and the ex still speaks to me and she tells me about him and what the things he did. I don't know if that's God, if that's God speaking through her, because I tend to be very spiritual and I take everyone that comes into my life as a sign. Because like, why all of a sudden she comes in my life and she's suddenly so comfortable to share everything with me?
Yeah.
Because I don't think she's in the know of what's happening between me and him.
So the three things that I would do if I were you: one, I'll cut the ex off. She's not a guy. She's a source of information that is potentially damning. That you don't need. I would cut her off. She adds zero value to your life. I would stop having sex with about two, and I'd cut him off too.
Yeah. I think I know exactly what's supposed to happen. I just don't know how I'm going to approach that and how it's going to all pan out.
Yeah.
You know, like, is there a way to do this in the most peaceful way? Probably not. Or maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We'll just have to see.
I feel we have a lot to catch up on offline.
Yeah.
Which I'll probably give you a buzz at the weekend. Well, you've been listening to another episode of the Phoenix Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I will catch you guys in next weekend's episode.
Tell me what you're feeling. Tell me what you're feeling. Now that it's over. Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah. Kujiziro amai. Love is a fire.
Kujiziro amai.